This is Wildcat Country.
It's only right. The ball's in his hands. A milestone victory for Arizona. Simon says championship.
All the inside scoop on U of A athletics.
It's up for the end zone. Arizona has scored the touchdown. Wildcats win.
Let's go to work, fella.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale, and it is almost the middle of July. It's almost the baseball all-star break, and yet we still have University of Arizona athletics news going on. It's unbelievable, Shane. I mean, it just doesn't stop. And I think maybe this is the end of it. Chip Hale being named the new manager of the Arizona baseball team. Let's hope until the fall that we're done. But I think all of us are a bit surprised as we stand here recording this. I mean, you know, this hire, did it come out of nowhere for you, or are you surprised by it, first of all?
In a word, yes, absolutely. I was surprised by it. Eric, it was just a couple weeks ago that some Wildcat fans were mocking ASU for hiring a baseball coach with no college coaching experience and an alum, no less. And here we are, the almost exact same situation. This is from Ted Cahill at Baseball America. He said no MLB coach had moved directly to a college head coaching role since Dick Hauser went from the Yankees to Florida State in 1979. Well, now it'll have happened twice in a month. So I hope Dave knows what he's doing, like he always does. I know he's going in big with alumni. I think Caitlin Lowe was a fantastic hire. Adia Barnes obviously is proven to be fantastic. Maybe he'll hit it out of the park with Chip Hale as well. I have a pros and cons list. Would you permit me to go down it real quick?
Yeah. I want to just chip in, no pun intended, before you say that. I half love this hire and I half hate it. And there's really not much middle ground for me. So I want to hear your pros and cons before I elaborate further.
Yeah, you'll probably agree with me on most of these, but here's the pros. Loves the university, loves Tucson, called it a destination job at his introductory press conference, and from him, I believe it. You'd think he'd be fine with staying in Arizona forever, given the opportunity. He knows what it takes to win in Tucson, obviously. He's won a College World Series at Arizona, knows it can be done, knows how it was done before, as from the player's perspective. He also said, if you watched his introductory press conference, that he was interested in the job back in 2002. Reached out to Jim Livengood, the then athletic director, about the job before Arizona went with Andy Lopez. So that's interesting. So it's been a lot of coaches talk, it's a dream job, it's a destination job. With Chip Hale, I really do believe those things. Retaining Dave Lawn is big for recruiting purposes, if nothing else. A little continuity there, just a little bit, tiny bit of continuity for the players. And his presser, Chip said, "I'm smart enough to know what I don't know." And I love hearing that. He knows how important assembling a top staff is in terms of recruiting. He hasn't done it before, so that was good to hear. And beyond that, he just has a lot of coaching experience. Not at a collegiate level, but he's been a coach for about 15 years. He has managerial experience at the MLB level, so it's not a complete fish out of water situation. Cons. Despite what I just said, he has never been a college baseball coach. There were some good candidates out there, we talked about last week, who would have definitely seen this as a stepping stone, if nothing else. Dave Hickey bypassed all of them for a guy who's never coached college baseball. I know he's going to hire assistants with a lot of experience. Maybe he'll have a hire or two by the time we get this out there. But Chip Hale is going to have to do some recruiting, some persuading, if nothing else, on his own too. The head coach has to be involved in some of that at a certain level, and he's never done that. He doesn't know that grind, even though maybe he's mentally prepared for it. I've always believed you have to be a little crazy to coach college sports at any level, simply because of how time-consuming it is. I remember Sean Miller years ago saying it never gets a day off, not even on Christmas, because when he's not coaching, he's out recruiting. So is he ready for that grind? That's a big question. And for a team that needs to do some recruiting quickly and fill a lot of gaps all of a sudden, they may not want to play for a guy who's been a college coach to this point. They have a lot of holes to fill, not a lot of time to do it. Finally, Chip Hale didn't do especially well during his other stint as a head coach / manager in Arizona. Lasted 2 seasons with the Diamondbacks, went 148 and 176, lost 93 games in his final season. So look, I know Arizona's gone heavy in the alumni route. Again, like I said, in terms of filling head coaching vacancies, it's worked so far. Worked with Adia Barnes. I think it's going to work with Caitlin Lowe. I really think Caitlin Lowe is going to be fantastic. But like most Wildcat fans, we did a little Twitter poll, very scientific Twitter poll, that showed about 50% of fans aren't sure how they feel about the hire to this point. And you can put me in that camp, and I'm sure you are as well. I really don't know how to feel about it at the moment.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, Shane. I think right now, listen, as you said with your list, I think it was spot on. I'm excited about Chip Hale in that he wants to be here. This is a dream job for him. He's getting a chance to coach a team that just went to Omaha at his alma mater. Mm-hmm. He was a successful, base coach in baseball, not a manager, but a coach. Won a World Series with the Nationals a few years ago. So that's great. With that said, the recruiting thing just kills me. And the fact that he has never recruited. And I have a hard time getting behind it when Dave Hickey's first job offer, as I understand it, as we understand it, was to Mark Wasikowski, who's the head coach at Oregon, former Arizona assistant under Andy Lopez. Apparently he was either offered the job or close to offer the job, and then Oregon stepped up and gave him a raise. That would have been a home run hire for Arizona. An existing head coach with Wildcat ties, perfect. So I don't blame him for staying at Oregon. It's Nike money. They have a good thing going on there. That's fine. What happened to Andrew Checketts? Obviously, Dave talked to him. Why wasn't Nate Yeske considered? So if you're not going to hire an existing college coach, why don't you just give the job to Nate Yeske and so be it? Why was he ruled out so quickly? That's where I'm confused. And it's not necessarily an anti-Chip Hale sentiment. It's more of what was this process?
Yeah, I will play the advocate for Chip Hale in the situation, since we're both skeptical, but let me throw another pro at you. You talked about a while ago, and I actually mocked you for it at the time, Eric, about Kevin Sumlin. Well, he's really not into it that much. He's counting his money from his last buyout. He's really not that passionate about Arizona football. And I'm like, well, you're a head coach at a college level. You have to be. And maybe there was something to that. And I think Mark May even reiterated that to my surprise. Chip Hale will be the opposite. Chip Hale, like he said at his press conference, he wanted this job. He wants it badly. So he's going to put in the effort. People talk about he's 56. He's on the older side. I don't care about any of that. I think he's got plenty of energy left. I don't think that's an issue. But he's like with any college program at any sport, you've got to hire assistants who know the landscape and who know how to recruit. I'm confident he'll do that. I'm waiting to hold judgment on how I feel until I see what the rest of his coaching staff looks like, because that's going to be as important, if not more so, than the head coach hire itself. I did love, by the way, that he chose to wear a different number because Daniel Susak was already wearing his number. So I appreciated that. Of course, it would have made things really awkward if he had taken that number. So he's all in with the university. I think if he has success here, he's not going to look for another job. If a big name school comes calling, he's going to like, dude, I'm a Tucson guy. And we're not going to worry about that like with Jay Johnson. So I'm on the fence, but I'm going to lean one way or the other based on largely on who he gets on his staff.
So here's something that is stunning to me, Shane. Arizona has now made at least 5 coaching hires. Dave Hickey and Dr. Robbins have made 5 coaching hires in this cycle. Jed Fish, first-time collegiate head coach. Tommy Lloyd, first-time collegiate head coach. Chip Hale, first-time collegiate head coach. Caitlin Lowe, first-time. Becca Moros, women's soccer team, first-time collegiate head coach. All 5 of them, none of them have previous experience in college as a head coach. In a way, that's great. They have a lot to prove, and I love that. Is this, as you just said, Shane, is this the anti-Kevin Sumlin so much so that, we're going to hire people who really want this job? Jed Fish has taken it to a new level. Tommy Lloyd is working his butt off. And by the way, I didn't even promote this yet. Kerr Kriisa, star guard for the Arizona men's basketball team, going to join us here, coming up here shortly. So we're going to find out a little bit more about Coach Tommy Lloyd. Caitlin Lowe, we talked to her. She's really excited to get the job. Becca Moros really seems like she's, going for it with the women's soccer team. And Chip Hale really wants this job. So in a way, this is really exciting to have these coaches that want to be here at Arizona. And with Chip Hale, you're never going to have to worry about him leaving on his own. He's either getting fired or retiring. Otherwise, he's not taking another job.
I think, and it's just speculation, no inside sources here, but it seemed, if 2 + 2 still equals 4, I think Dave is just going by the Adia Barnes blueprint. Adia Barnes is an alum, no previous head coaching experience. Look what she's done with let's be honest, a dumpster fire of a program.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't think she necessarily had to be an alum. And Arizona may have had to go out of its way to keep her here because she got two raises in about a span of a month. So we have to keep that in mind. But I do think that passion is important, knowing the city, embracing the university. I think those intangibles, I know it almost sounds like a greeting card or a bumper sticker, but I do think that matters. And I'm realizing it matters more now than maybe a year ago when I wasn't so sure that, how good Arizona women's basketball is going to be under Adia Barnes and how bad it was going to be under Kevin Sumlin. I think that makes a difference. And so I think that as long, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but if Chip Hale gets people who know the West Coast, who know how to recruit, I think they'll be okay. They're looking at a rebuilding job. I don't expect Chip Hale to get this team back to the College World Series like Jay Johnson likely would have done or had a good chance to do if he had returned. I think you need to be a little patient with Chip Hale and at Arizona. If they go 500 next season or worse, take a deep breath. I really think this is a big rebuilding job. They got a lot of guys returning, or a few guys anyway, a few top guys. Maybe some will come out of the transfer portal and come back. But I think you're looking at a 3-year job. I think if Chip Hale has this team toward the top of the Pac-12 and at least in contention for Omaha again within 3 years, I'll consider that a success.
Well, remember, Shane, Jay Johnson went in 2016 to the College World Series, and then Arizona really wasn't, uber competitive as we expect until 2019 or 2020, really. 2019, they just missed the postseason. 2020, they were going to have a good year. They looked to have a good team, didn't play. And then 2021, look what happened. So, yeah, I'm going to give Chip Hale the benefit of the doubt. He's a good baseball man. This team is going to be well coached. I don't think anyone can argue that. And I trust Chip Hale. He's going to put out a well-rounded team on the field. But how talented is that team going to be out of high school? How good are the recruits? Jay Johnson was a hell of a recruiter. And that is, Jay Johnson already got Jacob Berry, who was a guest on Wildcat Country, to leave and go to LSU. An Arizona kid, raised in Arizona, leaving to go to LSU. What's Chip Hale going to do? Right now he's in kind of a tough spot. He's got Daniel Susak. He's got some of the guys coming back, which is good. He has a good team. This is a team that should make the final 64 as it stands, as far as I'm concerned right now. We'll see how it shakes out after the draft and everything like that. But this is not – he's not starting with a blank slate like Adia Barnes was. You could go risky with Adia Barnes because that team was a dumpster fire under Nia Butts. You could go risky with Jed Fish because Kevin Sumlin didn't care and didn't want to be here and just stole money from the University of Arizona. You couldn't go risky with a basketball team. No, you couldn't because Sean Miller, there was still a pretty good team, a team that very well was going to be an NCAA tournament team this year. And I thought Tommy Lloyd was an intelligent hire for that. Caitlin Lowe was the ultimate successor for Mike Candrea. No need to go outside the program. She was an All-American, one of the greatest players to ever play for Coach Candrea at Arizona. She's been a longtime assistant, made complete sense. This one, though, I would have hired a sitting head coach at the college level. And I would have said to Chip, hey, we'd love for you to be the number one assistant. And I don't know that he would have left the Detroit Tigers to do that. I just don't understand this hire based on the fact that the rumor was that Dave Hickey wanted a sitting collegiate head coach.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Chip Hale was really in that pecking order. If he was the second guy, how did he get there? If you're really looking for a guy with head coaching experience, how do you go from that to Chip Hale? So it's tough because I think in the situation of softball, it was a natural progression. It was natural to hire from within. Caitlin Lowe is going to do great. Baseball, Arizona had, I gotta believe, had a good pick of gotta be at least a dozen head coaches at smaller schools who would have loved this job and would have seen it as a long-term position. I don't know what happened with Nate Yeske. It seemed like he was out the door even before Jay was, or maybe he knew that Jay was going, and so he decided to leave as well. And maybe Yeske just wasn't head coaching material according to Dave Hickey in Arizona. But I'm cautiously optimistic, partly because I've seen what Adia Barnes can do, because what Jed Fish has done to this point has been as good as it possibly can be without Arizona playing a single game. If things were a little different, like if this was the first head coaching change, let's say, over the last few months, I'd probably feel a bit differently. Now I'm like, maybe these guys deserve the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they know what they're doing. When I say they, I mean Dave Hickey and Robert Robbins. I don't know. Maybe this is more Dave Hickey's hire. I think he's more hands-on with baseball anyway. But we'll see where the chip. Like I'm doing it again. Where the chips
You did
fall.
it again. Yep.
I did it. You started it. I'll blame it on you. But and hopefully we'd love to have Coach Hale on the show. Hopefully soon as well. Get and chat with him. But really interested to see how it all plays out. It's interesting again, Eric, how some guys, some players, regardless of the sport, come for the university, and some come specifically for the coach. You had Jacob Berry, who bolted as soon as Jay Johnson left and followed Jay Johnson to LSU. You have Daniel Susak, his co-freshman of the year, who was like, I'm not going anywhere. And so there's almost this split. So it's fortunate for Chip Hale that it worked out that way. A lot of the guys said they're staying even before Chip was named the head coach. They want to stay at Arizona. So that's a good sign. But they have a lot of holes to fill. And I don't know they're going to be able to fill enough to really competitive next season or even be a tournament team next season. I'm waiting to see how they fill those. They've already lost a lot of commits for next, which is not a surprise. They were going to. But I think they're looking at maybe a bigger turnaround, even if Chip Hale is successful, a bigger turnaround than you might think.
Well, we will continue to talk in the coming weeks about the baseball program and where they go from here under new coach Chip Hale, but it certainly is interesting and does not lack for intrigue. We will say that. Coming up now, let's talk to Kerr Kriisa. I had a chance to sit down with him a little bit earlier to talk to him about his experience under Coach Tommy Lloyd and what to expect from the Wildcats coming up in 2021-22 here in Wildcat Country. Really excited to have Shane Dale's favorite player on the Arizona men's basketball team, Kerr Kriisa, joining us. He's one of my favorite players as well, but Shane unfortunately can't be here, so it's just me doing this interview. Kerr, thank you so much for joining Wildcat Country. First of all, I think the main question is, a couple months ago, you had entered the transfer portal, and all of us were kind of freaking out like, we're not going to have one of our best young talents here. What was the big decider in you saying, hey, I'm going to stick with Tommy Lloyd in Arizona going forward?
I feel like the biggest decider was Tommy's offense. The way he saw, the way his style is, how he played, how they played in Gonzaga, how he develops players, especially internationals. So we had like several meetings, and like I really saw that Tommy means everything he says, and everything seemed to be really truthful for me. Plus, all like I mentioned before, all this. Game of style developing. So after this, the decision for me was pretty easy to stay.
What do you think is the biggest difference between Tommy Lloyd's coaching style from what you can tell and Sean Miller's?
I don't really want to compare styles like that, but what I can say is I love both coaching styles.
That's what I like to hear. Tell us about your game, and you came in, and I guess first of all, the fact that you weren't able to play till late February or early February, which was kind of frustrating, and being able to watch your teammates but not being able to be a part of it. Well, first of all, what was that experience like for you, and how frustrating was it just with the stupid NCAA rules?
Yeah, trust me, it was frustrating for me also, not only for the fans, but it was mental. It was really tough. That I think I got the message in the right before the season started or something like that I won't play until February, and then I was like, all right, so I'm just gonna practice for like 4 or 5 months, and then like what then? Because then it's already basically in the end of the season. The rotations have come through. It's hard for me to come in, like fit in the team, like in the games like this. So it wasn't an easy process for sure. It was really tough, and it was I was really pissed about the situation. But it turned out to be pretty solid. I mean, I was happy once I started to get my minutes and actually start playing. So I mean, everything has to be good for something, I guess. So I learned a lot out of that time.
How did you grow as a player in those games that you played, for Coach Miller and with last year's team. How did you become a better basketball player throughout that limited experience?
For sure, I became a better shooter. That's 120% sure. And just in general, playing in defense, hustling for the balls. I was doing that stuff before also, but I really believe I took a next step on those aspects.
I called you like a Luka Doncic light from the highlights that I saw. Who would you model your game after?
Well, I really like Steve Nash, so I really like to watch his clips and stuff. But for sure, I'm not like Luka. There's no other Luka, and I feel like nobody should ever be compared to Luka. So, but I really like watching Steve Nash film. Now, Tommy has shown me a lot of Kevin Pangos clips. I obviously knew Kevin before also because he was playing in Europe in my old team. So I've been watching him, and obviously TJ McConnell. Like, I just like to pick little details from every point guard, like, who is similar to me, like not too tall, not too gifted from the like nature, and just who have grinded their ass off.
I love it. I mean, and I think a lot of Wildcats fans, you had a lot of hype. You were the best player coming out of Europe into college basketball last year. And we only got to see glimpses of you. And now it's going to be really exciting for a full season in Coach Lloyd's scheme. Look what Gonzaga did with Jalen Suggs last year and how wide open that offense was. What have you learned just in the last few months working under Coach Lloyd that has been most beneficial to you?
Like I said, the game style is very appealing. So this should be my baby. Like, it's good for me to get back to my basics. And obviously, we've been working a lot on my floater and just finishing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting for me too.
Tell us about the transfers for this year's team. I mean, you got in, Pelle Larsson is somebody that's going to join you, obviously, in the backcourt, another European. Tell us about just what next year's team looks like, because we're all kind of unsure. It's just a different, a lot of new pieces, Akinjo gone, but some transfers in there. Tell us just how excited you are and what we should expect for the 2021-2022 Arizona basketball squad.
I would say like this, that if I was an Arizona basketball fan, I would be really, really excited for the season. We have a great team. We have a great chemistry. We have everybody's having fun. We go to practice. Nobody feels like we got to do something just because we have to do it. Like, everybody actually wants to be together. Like, it's just we're having really, really great time on the court, off the court. Everybody's enjoying themselves. So I feel like this is the main thing to be successful as a team. Just that everybody gets along, enjoying, having fun. So having fun is the most important part on the court. So
kind of transitioning here, you came from Estonia, which is quite a bit different than Tucson. When you got out here, what was the toughest adjustment for you to transitioning to American life down there in Tucson?
If I take basketball out, then I would say the heat. I have a huge respect to people who actually live in Tucson, year by year, month by month. It's the weather was crazy for me. So the weather was the biggest part. Then of course the food is different. It was a lot of Mexican food. Never ate Mexican food before. So plus a lot of sandwiches, Jersey Mike's, all these places.
So outside of basketball, Kerr, what do you like to do in your spare time? When you're not on the court, where can we find Kerr Kriisa around Tucson, or what are you doing out there in Estonia? What are your hobbies?
I love playing ping pong, disc golf. When there's snow, then I like snowboarding. Obviously in Tucson, we don't have that opportunity, so I haven't done that in a minute now. But in general, I like being with my teammates, hanging out. So nothing special, but a few little hobbies. Yeah.
Wanted to thank you so much for joining us. It's a lot of fun to get a chance to talk with you. We have a lot of high hopes for you, and we're really glad that you're at the University of Arizona, and wish you nothing but the best of luck. Want to thank Kerr Kriisa for joining us here on Wildcat Country. It's a short interview. There were some connection issues on both of our ends, but glad I had a chance to sit down with him. And Shane, the most exciting part of that interview for me was Kerr Kriisa's enthusiasm for this upcoming year's team. And he said Arizona fans should be really excited. Now, that's great, except for the fact that UCLA returned their entire starting lineup from a team that almost went to the national championship game. So, yeah, you're looking at a team that maybe is playing for second in the Pac-12. I'd be okay with that.
I like the confidence. I like the fact that he thinks fans should be excited. And fans should be excited because hopefully they'll have a chance to return. And remember, the freshmen and the transfers from last year's team, they still haven't had a chance to play in front of Arizona Wildcat fans. Kerr Kriisa hasn't had a chance to play in front of Arizona fans.
True.
So he'll get that experience too. So I think this team, we've talked about it, is going to be maybe about as good as last season's team was. They missed out on a possible big transfer this week. So it seems like that well is starting to run really dry, and they're going to end up going with who they have. You never know. Like Jack Murphy told us a couple of weeks ago, it's a weird year, so maybe they'll still add one or two pieces. But as it stands, I think their borderline tournament, given the opportunity to play in the tournament, we'll have to see how that all shakes out too. But I like the bold prediction from Kerr. You didn't even ask him for a bold prediction, and he said Wildcat fans should be excited. So most of his answers were pretty kind of on the straight and narrow, and I think he went out a little out of his way on that one, and I was happy to see it. I was disappointed I wasn't able to be a part of it though.
Yeah, I was a bummer because I know how much of a fan of Kerr's that you are, and I didn't get a chance, to ask him about his jersey number, Steve Kerr, and everything like that. The transfer you were talking about, Shane, Dawson Garcia from Marquette ended up committing to Hubert Davis in North Carolina. I think this Arizona basketball team has a lot of potential. I think they're going to be better this year than they were last year. I think the style of play, as Kerr talked about, this wide open style of play, this is going to be one of the most fun teams to watch. I can't say that a lot of Sean Miller teams were like that amazing to watch because just sometimes they'd slow it down. I mean, the Deandre Ayton team was a lot of fun with Trier and PJC running the point. I mean, that was a fun team. Some of the TJ McConnell teams, Aaron Gordon, okay, they were fun. But, I mean, this team is going to be a blast. This team is going to score, and they're going to go up and down the court. And if you watched Gonzaga last year, and if Arizona plays the same style like Gonzaga did, with the talent they have, Tubelis, Matherin, Kriisa, Terry, amongst others, this is going to be a fun team, Shane. A lot of fun.
And we've seen what Tubelis and Matherin have done overseas in the last couple of weeks. So that it's a different game, obviously, but I think Tubelis and Matherin, if they both take a step forward next season, which I think they're both capable of doing, all you need in college hoops is 2 stars to go a long way. I don't think this is necessarily a Final Four team or a Sweet 16 team even, don't get me wrong. But I think if those two guys take a step forward, that's going to fill a lot of those holes. But again, I think in terms of recruiting, Arizona's missed out on a lot of transfers and top recruits out of high school. And they brought a couple in already, but they've missed out on more than they've gotten. And I think that's one of those things where Tommy Lloyd's just going to have to get head coaching experience first.
Yep.
And that's kind of the same concern I have with Chip Hale. We'll see what happens with that long term, but I think this first season for Tommy Lloyd is important, in not because fans are expecting national championship, but because a lot of these high school athletes and potential future transfers are going to look at this team and say, okay, did this team achieve above what it was expected to achieve based on its talent level? And the answer is yes, because Tommy Lloyd's going to get a lot of the credit for it, whether he deserves it or not, and he probably will. I think he's a fantastic coach. He's going to do great. It's just going to take that to really get some of those 5-star, high-end 4-star guys to commit to Arizona in droves like they did under Sean Miller.
Kind of a weird transition, Shane, but I would be remiss, considering we're in Arizona, fans of the Suns. At the time we're recording, they're up 2-0 against the Bucks, heading back to Milwaukee for Game 3 this weekend. Deandre Ayton has been a star, doubled in both games. I think went 20 and 19 in Game 1, 10 points, 11 rebounds in Game 2. He has turned into a bona fide star. Now, he played 1 year at the University of Arizona. I know Sean Miller isn't there anymore. I mean, at this point, would you think that this could help Arizona for recruiting? Hey, Deandre Ayton went there. He matured in 1 year. Or is it, hey, Sean Miller's gone, you can't really say that anymore?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes much of a difference, but I enjoyed the ride. You know what was bizarre, Eric, is someone posted the photo of Sean Miller in attendance for Game 1 in Phoenix, and it just sort of hit me that the Sean Miller era is over. It's bizarre because I thought for sure at one point that Sean Miller was going to get Arizona to multiple Final Fours and probably win a national championship. And the fact that era ended without that happening, he accomplished a lot. But the fact that era has come and gone, and he's not the coach at Arizona anymore, it was just kind of bizarre to me. So there was that. But no, Ayton, I tweeted about the other day, the Suns started the playoffs with 2 stars. Now they have 3. Ayton still isn't a consistent, 25 and 15 guy. He still has his off games. Sometimes he disappears. I don't know if that's all his fault, but he's doing a lot of the little things now that he wasn't doing before, including stepping up on defense, altering a lot of shots, setting some fantastic screens. He's done that all season, but I think he's taken it to a new level during the playoffs. But truth be told, Eric, we were, like you said, we've both been Suns fans for a long time. I've been a fan since the '88 team, since they turned it around with Kevin Johnson, Tom Chambers, and all those guys. I have a confession. I made a pact with the devil a few months ago. He said, we'll allow the Suns to win an NBA championship, but Frank Kaminsky gets a ring too. And I agonized over it and eventually said, okay, whatever. As long as he doesn't, I have to see him play a lot. But now with Saric injured and Torrey Craig injured, we might see him in Milwaukee quite a bit for games 3 and 4. I hope he does well. I hope he actually goes back to Milwaukee and torments the Wisconsin fans there. But that's the only downside. But would love to see Ayton get a ring. Obviously, the one and only season he was at Arizona, they got bounced in the first round by Buffalo. Lots of off-court distractions. That bogus ESPN story with Mark Schlabach and him having to hear it from Oregon fans the next night. I felt awful for the guy. So love to see the success he's having. I'm glad he's got great mentors in both Monty Williams and Chris Paul. And Kendrick Perkins said he's kind of looks like David Robinson. A little early to say that, but he's only 22 years old. He's doing great things. Yeah, the fact that he stays in the league longer, him and a lot of other alums are still coaching and they're playing. It's a constant reminder, at least, that Arizona is a destination school if you want to succeed at the pro level. There's some, whether it's Lute Olson guys or Sean Miller guys or hopefully eventually Tommy Lloyd guys. Is it that big a deal? I don't know, but it certainly can't hurt. If Deandre Ayton's lifting that O'Brien trophy here in a week or two, hopefully, it certainly can't hurt Arizona in terms of recruiting.
So last year, this is in October of 2019, when I was still working in local radio here. I went out, I was assigned to go and cover the Suns Media Day. And I was standing there in the middle and not really doing much, just kind of taking it in, just, there to show my face, everything like that. And I was standing talking to the great Al McCoy and John Bloom, who is the backup announcer for the Suns. And I've known John for, a decade or more, a great guy. And John knows that I'm a big U of A guy. I think he went to Cal. So he knows, we're talking about U of A and everything like that. Kaminsky walks up in front of us and he says, "Hey, Eric, your boy's in front. Why don't you go talk to him and say hi?" I said, "Nah, I'm good, John." It's just kind of a ribbing out of nowhere. That's what we as University of Arizona fans have to deal with. Frank Kaminsky, one of my best friends is a Wisconsin guy, and I hear about it all the time. Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky, and now Kaminsky hopefully gets a ring. Go Suns, and Kaminsky gets a ring along with DeAndre Ayton. Well, I want to ask you one last thing, Shane. We didn't talk about this last week, and I just want to ask your opinion on this now. As of July 1st, college players are able to get their own sponsorships. And I know that some of the guys from overseas are not eligible to do that, which, is a whole different issue in itself. And we can talk about that another time. Are you in favor of guys being able to get their own sponsorships, or is this college athletics, in your opinion, going in the wrong direction?
No, I think it's fine. I think that they should be able to make money off their name if they want to, and we've already seen it. As a Jamari Joyner and another football player was tweeted something about hit up my guy at so and so mortgage at 520 whatever his name whatever the number is. So you've already seen that. I think that it has a potential to be a huge distraction for 18 and 19-year-old kids. I think that they think okay, it's going to be an easy street now, and for some guys it's going to pay off. Hopefully that they keep their head on straight. It's interesting though that maybe this whole FBI probe wouldn't have been needed if this were all legal a few years ago. I also do feel bad for the athletes who just graduated and were like, Oh yeah, that's nice. Now now it's legal. Now you can make money and something. It's just the timing of the Supreme Court case opened the floodgates. So no, I think it's fine. I just think that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for kids who are going to start making money and thinking that life is going to be easier. If they're able to make some money on the side, so be it. It's going to be a challenge, I think, for coaches, regardless of the sport, to make sure these kids keep their heads on straight and say, look, the big prize is still in front of you. You want to go make some money, try to make some money here and there, to pay for this or that, so be it. But you came here to improve, to get an education, and hopefully, depending on the sport, go pro and make more money eventually. So I think it's a big challenge for coaches, for staff members to keep these kids, remind them of what's really important and why they play college sports in the first place.
Come on. All right. Now let's be honest. If you think guys are going to Duke, to play basketball for Coach K, for free all the time, or North Carolina or Kansas, I mean, come on. We all know guys have been getting kickbacks for years. This is nothing new, and I'm not going to include Arizona in this.
I understand, but I'm thinking more toward like the football players who maybe a lot of guys haven't heard of, who think that they can make an easy buck or two, and maybe they can, but I think that's going to be more of the challenge. For the higher end guys, I tend to agree a lot of them probably already getting some money, and if they're not, they're going to find ways to make a lot soon. So maybe they're already thinking about that. Maybe that's not a big deal, but I think that for some of the smaller sports, some of the athletes who aren't as prominent, I think that's going to be the challenge for coaching staffs to keep them focused on what's important, at least for the next however many years they're at school.
And I'm sure we will talk about that topic more down the road. But exciting times to come. We're going to talk more about baseball next week. Football's getting closer. And, reading my Phil Steele magazine, the best college football preview magazine, in my opinion, he says that Arizona has improved in many areas. So, may not show in win totals, but hey, that's something to talk about, and we will do so going forward. Want to thank Kerr Kriisa once again for joining us. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thank you as always for listening. And as I always like to say, bear down.